Okay, we're going to start into level 2 now with the 2A notes. It's really a continuation of what we just did in level 1 when we talk about parallel lines and when we talk about slope. I filled in a lot of these notes previously, so as you're going through, you probably have to stop the video, copy down the notes, and then continue on. I just did that so it would go a little faster. So by definition, parallel lines will be lines that have the same exact slope. Doesn't that make sense that the slope of that line and the slope of that line that's parallel to it, the slopes will be the same? Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. So let's talk about that. Negative will be the opposite sign. So if one is positive, the other one has to be negative. If one is negative, the other one will be positive. Reciprocal, if you did this with fractions, reciprocal is where you flip the fraction, you interchange the numerator and the denominator. And then that's going to be your negative reciprocal. You have to do both. It has to have both in order to be perpendicular. And there's that symbol for perpendicular. Okay, so let's practice this a little bit. So just real summary here. We're going to change the sign and flip the fraction. Okay, so negative reciprocal. So we know it's going to be negative, and we're going to flip the fraction over. Those two are negative reciprocals of each other. That's a 3. Okay, if I have a line that has a slope that shows 3/4, and I have another line that shows negative 4/3, those two lines are going to be perpendicular to each other. Next one. This, another way to write 2 is 2/1. So if I want the negative reciprocal, it's going to be negative. I'm going to flip my fraction, so negative 1/2. The negative reciprocal of negative 7/8 is going to be positive 8/7. So again, if I have a line with a slope of negative 7/8 and another line with slope of 8/7, those two lines are going to be perpendicular to each other. 1, I can say over 1, I guess, its negative reciprocal is going to be negative 1/1, or just negative 1. Now think about this one. That 0 is not necessarily going to have a negative reciprocal, but if I have a line with a slope of 0, that line is going to go horizontal. Okay, so any line that has a slope of 0 is horizontal, and they're going to be parallel to each other. If I want them perpendicular to each other, that perpendicular line is going to be a vertical line. The slope of any vertical line is undefined. So if I have a slope of 0, undefined, sorry, and a slope of undefined, those two are going to be perpendicular. If I have two lines and their slopes are both undefined, that's parallel. If I have two lines and their slopes are both 0, that's parallel. If I have one of each, that's perpendicular. All right, so again, for these examples, I already went through and I filled out, and what they're asking us to do is use the slopes for these lines to determine if A, B, and C, D are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you can see for AB, that's what they're asking me for. I found the slope to be 4/3. The slope of CD, using the 2 points method here, is 3/4. So I put both of those in here. Now, if they're parallel, they're going to be exactly the same. Okay, they're exactly the same, so these two lines are going to be parallel to each other. Okay, look at the next one. I've already figured out the slopes. 2/5 and negative 5/2 are the results of slope with these two lines. Okay, if I look, it is the opposite sign, and it is the flip of that fraction, or the reciprocal of that fraction. That's going to be perpendicular. On something where even the two fractions don't even click at all, that's a neither. Those are just going to be two intersecting lines. On the number 4 down here, the slope of the first one is -1/3, and the slope of the second is 3/1. So is this the negative reciprocal of this? Now, when I say negative, maybe another word would be the opposite reciprocal. Okay, so it's not always going to be a negative. It's going to be the opposite. So do I have opposite signs? Yes. Are the fractions flipped? Yes. That's perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular, you have to have both reasons satisfied. Opposite signs and flipped fraction. All right, page 2, number 5. Again, I think you've had enough practice in finding slope, so I'm assuming you know how to do that here. The slopes for these two lines come out to be -4 and -4. Slopes that are exactly the same are parallel. The lines are parallel. Number 6, the slope of 1 is -1. The slope of this line is +1. They are opposite signs, and they are the flip of each other, which is like 1/1. So they are perpendicular lines. Seven, the slopes are shown here. It's 2/7 and 7/2. Are they opposite signs? No. Are they exactly the same? No. So this one would be a neither. While they are reciprocals of each other, they are not opposite signs, so it can't be perpendicular. -1/2 and -1/2, exactly the same, parallel. Okay, let's take a look at number 9. This one I did fill out. You'll notice that when I did the formula, I get a 0 on the bottom. 9 divided by 0 is undefined. Thou shalt not divide by 0. That's undefined. So AB, I'll put undefined here. CD, when I work that out, I got 0/3. 0 divided by anything is 0, so the slope of CD is 0. I have one of each. One goes horizontal. One goes vertical, one goes horizontal. That's perpendicular. Number 10, when I calculated using the formula, I got both of them with zeros on the bottom, so the slope of both of the lines is undefined. If they're both undefined, that indicates parallel. All right, we're going to stop there for this far, and then we'll do part 2 for number 11 and 12.